And good evening, our fellow lovers of love. Thank you for joining us on this excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, and on towards the lake of love. Well, maybe
That
I
was
shouldn't.
delightful.
Well, maybe I shouldn't practice these before the show. I was asked just before we turned on the thing. I was telling Mubby over there that see, this should be an interesting opening because I hadn't practiced. I normally practice, do the routine a few times. No, it came out just fine. Maybe I should not practice the routine. Maybe that's the clue. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's been an interesting week over in this household. Especially emotional one. And I don't mind saying I've been throwing myself a bit of a pity party this week.
Well, you've been doing a good job of it. You've been holding up pretty dang well, I would say.
No. Well, see, I had to make the difficult decision to stop driving. My eyesight has deteriorated due to my health issues. We're not going to go into those today. Anybody who wants to dig into that can go find my personal profile. It's pinned to the top. You can find out on Facebook. You can find that out. Maybe I should post it onto the Jazz Rack page just so people can find it too. So I'll do that. I'll repost it over there. But anyway, so you can find out there. I don't want to spend too much time on the details. But I had to, essentially put down the car keys and go up driving for at least a little while until this all gets sorted out. It's a hard thing. I've been driving since 14. Didn't need a license then, so it's not about the license. It's about that, I know it's not safe for me to be driving. I didn't wait for a doctor or a bureaucrat to tell me.
That's a responsible thing to do.
So it's, I love my fellow man than to put them at risk from a 2000 thing because I can't freaking see. It is what it is.
I'm proud of you.
It is what it is. It's a difficult and emotional thing, and it's because it's not just that. It's my way of life. I was a gig worker, a delivery driver, and you can always, if you've got a clean driving record, you can always go back to that in some form. It may not be someplace you like, but you can always get back in there, and and it's imperative that I stay in a good mood and don't stress.
For your liver, yes.
For the liver to function, and so my last 15 years of therapy is going to be put to the test. I think. It's going to be put to the test. And just as a side note, I just realized that when I was putting all the stuff together, that next week's show is show 69. We should do a sex show.
We should do a sex show.
So there you go. You've got your task for the week.
Sweet.
It's your show this week.
Sweet.
Well, it's your pre-work show this week.
Sweet.
Ow.
Well, I could use your help.
Well, yeah, of course I'll help. But it's hard for me to see. So it's even hard for me to do my own show, my political shows. Yeah. Because I can't be.
My honey.
It's harder for me to be as well read until I figure out how to adapt. And I'll figure out how to adapt. I'm not. I'll adapt. It's just until I do, it's going to be a thing. All right. So on the top of our list is what is philosophy, and I'll talk about the concept of street level philosophy.
What is that?
I don't know. I've got some piece of electronic equipment in here binging at me, and I don't know which one it is. Oh, it must be Anyway. So what is street level philosophy? Well, it's only called that because. Oh, shut up. Okay,
we need to fire that in.
Well, I turned it on because that computer was working funny, so that was going to be the backup.
I know.
And anyway, the technical issues just beforehand, so I was ready for just in case, and Yeah, well, that would have happened. So that would have been nice. So that's what happens when I don't turn it on for 10 days or whatever long it's fine. Anyway, so what is street level philosophy? Well, first you have to understand what philosophy is, and that philosophy is simply deep thinking, critical thinking, the willingness to run down a thought process and then discard it because it's crap, and go back to the beginning and just think about life and how it interacts with various other aspects of life. And, the real deep thinkers who take one thing and they run with it. And I decided early on for me, there's no right or wrong way to do philosophy, from my opinion, anyway. Is that I said I wasn't going to study the big philosophers because I didn't want to have that thought. Oh, I'm a Jungian or have a school of thought. I wanted to have my thought be my own organically. Now, it doesn't mean you don't cross their things, but you don't study them.
The path, yeah.
Yeah, you don't take the path. You find your own. You take your own path. And so that's what I call street level psychology. Is just when you don't, not psychology,
philosophy.
Philosophy. Thank you. It's when you don't take the standard path of philosophy. It's not about classes. It's not about learning the history of philosophy, because who cares if you come up with the same thought? Lots of people do. The great philosophers are just the ones who wrote it down. That's the only difference. Or had it written down at some point, I suppose. But we can all engage in it. All you have to do is think about things in a complex manner. That's really all it is. Take some aspect of life you're interested in and think about it in a complex manner.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Park yourself on a particle of light and see what happens. Imagine yourself. Do this. It's the Einstein thought experiment, but it's mostly philosophy. Now see, that was Einstein's leap. He could change philosophy into science. He could make it into math, but you don't have to do that. Just think about it. Think about what happens, especially now that because at the speed of light, time doesn't actually exist. The way we think of it, anyway. Or does it? It all becomes very strange. Because then it becomes to the answer of what is time. Time is a human construct. It doesn't exist in nature. No other creature other than human beings mark time. There's no clocks in nature. It appears that there's that way, but that's our thing. It's not nature's thing. Nature just exists. The planet just orbits the sun. It spins at its rate. There's nothing there setting these things. It just is. We created time as a useful tool. It's a tool. It's not a part of nature.
Nature knows the difference between day and night.
Nature doesn't care the difference between day and night.
Yes, it does.
No, it
because
doesn't.
some animals are nocturnal.
Yeah.
And so others are not. They need the daylight.
Exactly. Nature doesn't care. Nature has day, night. It's neither good nor bad. Doesn't even matter if it exists. There's creatures at the bottom of the ocean that have no concept of sunlight. Creatures have always existed at the bottom of a cave. Don't even know what light is. So day, nights doesn't mean anything. It's just environmental conditions to nature. That's all it is. Environmental conditions change, and so you adapt to it. See, there you go. You wanted your example? There's your example. But you don't need, and it may end up being completely worthless. But the point is to exercise your brain, to be willing to test new thoughts. You're willing to run down a thing, and then be willing to tell yourself, "No, that was crap. You just pulled all that out your ass." It sounded good, but just nothing. It did absolutely meaningless. Yeah, you have to be willing to do that. And that's what philosophy is: the willingness to tell yourself that you're not as smart as you think you are. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll go on. We have some leftover topics from last week. Um, what to say to a friend with anxiety instead of don't stress. According, we had never actually finished the 31 topics from last week. Um, but we don't go back there. According to a therapist. So we've got.
Well, there's 6 helpful ways.
Yeah, well, I can tell you. Let them talk, then repeat what you say. Yeah, let them talk, yes. I don't necessarily know repeat what they say. It's because sometimes that comes off wrong. And unless you're good at it, sometimes the best thing to do is silence. I'm sorry. That kind of thing. And so it's not that it's. I get that. It's an affirming thing. You affirm that you've heard them. You affirm that you understand.
Well, you can affirm. You can say, you can be honest.
Yeah.
That sounds painful.
Yeah, you can
Or
say
that sounds
you can make them
hard.
show you're hearing and that you're listening.
Yeah.
But unless you have, but even people who have anxiety disorders can't really understand what someone else's anxiety is, how it manifests, and how it impacts them. And so I'm just being very careful when you reflect it, that you're not reflecting back that you understand, because you can't. Just reflecting back that you hear, that you're there for them,
Yeah.
and that you're not judging them for what they're experiencing at the moment. All right, so ask questions. Hold on, I gotta make the screen bigger because I can't read this in the big
Ask
way.
questions to understand their feelings better. How can you possibly think that way? Don't shame.
That's what I mean. So you want to tread lightly, because they'll tell you. You don't have to actually ask many questions. Because here's the thing about anxiety disorders and stuff. If it made sense, it wouldn't be called a disorder. So if you're asking questions, you're searching for a rational answer that doesn't exist or may not exist. So again, it's just tread lightly. So just tread lightly when you're doing that. Ask what you could do to make them feel better. Yep. Is there anything I can do? Do we need to get out of here? If you're someplace, you need me to get you out of here. If you're out at an event or something. Yeah, that's something like that. If you're at home, do you need a drink, something to dinner? You want to go hang out and watch a movie, smoke a joint, whatever it is your thing is. Don't try to fix a problem. That's right, because there's nothing to fix. It's a disorder. It's a lot of the times it's not real, and we know it's not real. We just have to get through it. I like to use this thing. I go, you're on the way to go get a hamburger, and you get a panic attack. I'm buying a freaking hamburger. What do you want from me? But there's no rational to it. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, it's not going to make any sense. How can you? There's nothing to fix. The fix is a long-term thing. There's nothing you can do. That's all internal work. What you can do is support them while they fix. Like when they're come home from therapy day. Some people like to talk about their therapy. Some people don't.
I'm a talker. You're not a talker.
No, I just got done. What If I had more to talk about, I would have said it. Get it. Follow up. That's a good one. Avoid cliches. I disagree on this one. I simply disagree about avoiding cliches. Because sometimes what cliches are is when you don't have any other tools, you have something to lean on. It's like, in a sense, I actually think sometimes I have a little jealous of religious people because they have things to say during times of crisis. You just pull one out. We got a book. Book tells us what to say, and so we say it in a time of crisis, and it's comforting. People like me, we have to make it up every single time. Now, I'm old enough now and have been, you know, a deep thinker, so to speak, that I have a life philosophy to back up on time. So in those times, everything's kind of the same, but the words are not the same all the time. And so there's a comfort in that, and I can understand it. And there's a comfort in cliches, as long as it's the right one. That's the trick. Is use the right one at the right time, and don't be. And unless you're someone who overuses it, then don't. If you're someone who overuses cliches as a habit, then now's not the time to pull it off. It's not using one is stronger. But most of us don't walk around, aren't walking cliches. And so if the cliche sounds like the best thing to you in your to say, and you know the person fairly well, then it's probably the best thing to do. Just as all of this, tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
People with anxiety need you to treat lightly. That's all they need. Well, and if you love them, they need you to love them. But you already do that, so that's the answer. That's the easy one.
Oh my.
All right. So what do we got? Why I know why I can speak. I'm speaking fast today, aren't I?
Little bit.
Yeah. Why I no longer identify with mental illness.
I read this one, and I have a hard time understanding it.
Okay. I read this one, but I read it like 10 days ago, so because it was for last week. In concept, I get it. Because if you identify as your mental illness, you become a victim to it. And so, in a sense, taking a label off.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah. And that's kind of the concept. They had to write an article, so they have to take that concept and make it really long.
It was a long article.
Rather than simplify it. And the article is probably worthy of reading if you understand where it's coming from. That they don't want to become a victim of their disease. You see so many people who wear their illness or their disease as like their badge of courage. It's like it becomes part of their identity. And some people don't feel that as is a good way for them to live. Some people need it as a strength, right? That's how they get their strength to get through whatever it is. But other people feel victimized by it. I'm more than that. I'm deeper. That's not who I am. That's a small part of me.
Now that I understand, because when you're first diagnosed, it's a little overwhelming and you feel like you're a pariah and this is what you are. But as you grow with it, you realize it's just a facet of who you are.
Yeah. Well, and we always got to be careful because different people have different needs.
Yes, some people need to identify.
Yeah, it's that becomes a suit of armor for them, and that's how they can get through their lives.
That's how they get through the day. Okay, this is what I deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their foundation.
Yeah, and so there's no one single way to get through these things.
Right.
We all have to find your way through these things.
Yes.
And you can listen to how other people did it. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe you can try things.
Try it on.
Yeah.
You can always try it on. If it doesn't work, then just disregard it. But sometimes, hey, it's a hit.
And sometimes you can, think about something and that's not for me. You just know it. So, I've actually always struggled with that. I've always never wanted to wear the anxiety disorder. That's kind of why I resisted being an anxiety advocate. 'Cause I don't want to wear it. I don't want that to be what I'm known for. I'm far more complicated than that. So I get where they're coming from. But I'm also experienced enough to know that, it's not the only way through. Other people are vastly different, and it's just as valid. Okay, what do we got? Second child, someone. You sent this one.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I read this. This is actually interesting. Has everybody? This was an interesting. God, I'm trying to talk too fast. What the heck is wrong with me today?
You're right.
I'm talking too fast. I
No,
haven't had this
you're
problem in
right.
a while. I
You're
told you I'm
right.
out of sorts this week. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Second child syndrome. Unborn child is getting shafted before. And I think the article was that before it's even born, they're already getting shafted. But I think it's actually the opposite.
Why?
Because by the time the second child runs around, you know what's important, you know what's not.
Yes.
They're not getting shafted, they're getting a better parent, is what they're getting. and, and so what you're saying, all these extra attention, all this extra time, but you've decided that it wasn't important.
Obviously, you decided to have another child, that you were up to the task of
Yeah.
splitting your time.
Yeah, but because you know why? Is because you realize that a lot of the time you spent with that child was kind of wasted. And they use things like the nursery, right? Your first child, you make the nursery and all this stuff. Your second, third child, man, if they're going to sleep in a drawer, and it's literally, some of us, you'd sleep in a drawer in the bed next to you. You open up, put the pillows in the drawer, and you stick them next to the drawer for the first month and a half. If you got a big dresser drawer,
I've heard of it.
yeah. Or you slip in the bassinet in the room, or the co-sleeping, or whatever method it is. No infant sleeps in the freaking nursery down the hall.
No.
Only in movies, man. TV. That's not real life. Okay, there's probably enough of it in real life to,
Well, there was that one baby that did it.
yeah, that one baby that one time. That's that's how that stuff works. Exactly. That one baby that one time. And so it's just I actually think the second and third child just get a better parent. And I can feel how an emotional it's someone who's emotional can understand and say, I spent all this extra time. I did pictures and baby books and this baby showers, and the second kid gets hand me downs and all this stuff. Yeah, but the second child also gets you knowing what's important and what's not. You know how to change the diaper like that now instead of having it fall off half the time. All the various problems that just eat up your time. You're just a better parent by your second child. You get a better parent. So all that extra attention a single child gets is not automatically good. You can stifle them. You can stifle them, spoil them. It can go all kinds of ways. Okay. Mom bans son's friend from attending sleepover after his mom was 5 hours late for pickup the previous time. Yeah, I can actually understand that.
Can you have a serious conversation first?
I'm going to assume a conversation was had, and this is not a responsible person. And you feel bad for the child, but what can you do? You have things to do. You've got other appointments, and you can't, you know? 5 hours. It's not like it's a half hour late.
Right.
Yeah. That's a different thing. That's asking someone to babysit for half a day. And you don't want to punish the child, but what are you going to do? Because essentially you're punishing the child for the behavior of the parents. But what are you supposed to do? You could offer to take them home, but how do you know they're even going to be there?
I hadn't thought of that. You could offer to take them home.
But how do you know someone's going to be there to pick them up, to receive them? I mean, it doesn't say how long, but sleepovers, kind of a party thing. I don't know. Seems kind of would be younger. Not willing to drop someone off. Not a teenager.
Not a teenager. Yeah.
Or you can drop them off by themselves, and it's not such a big deal. So I don't know. I feel for it, but I just you hate thinking that you're actually punishing a child for the behavior of parents, but at the same time you're kind of stuck.
There's no easy answer here.
Mm-mm. I mean, maybe if you're just not doing anything the next day, all right, fine. But if you have to go to church and you need everybody out of there by 9:30, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's it's one of those things. Those are the things when you interact with other people's children that become difficult. Mhm.
Yeah.
Hopefully they find another answer. Maybe one of the other parents is willing to deal with it. Who knows? Maybe it's got a friend. It doesn't sound like it. Parents who pick up their children 5 hours late
Yeah.
have a tendency to not care so much. All right, did you want to take your break?
Yeah.
All right, we will be right back. All right, and we are back. Thank you for joining us. And we would like to remind you that you can go to latenightlove.us. You can find us on Facebook at The Late Night Love. You can find us on Anchor.fm, Late Night Love. And you can find us on all your favorite podcast networks. And please do us a favor and do the whole share and like and push button things. Everybody, I hate that part, but Whip gives us an appreciation. Follow, like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
You're so enthusiastic.
I am so enthusiastic about the marketing part of this thing, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder we haven't grown so much. I don't know we grow so slow. Just saying. Hey, but we're all organic, so it is what it is. Okay. So, do you have any? Did you get? Oh, you didn't get a chance to go through these. I forgot to send them to you. All right.
That's okay. We'll do it on the fly.
All right. During an interview, when asked what is your greatest strength, how should one answer this question?
There's a couple good ones. Mine is always I pay attention to detail. But that's also my greatest. When they ask what's your biggest weakness, that's also my biggest weakness. I get bogged down in detail.
Well,
but there's also team player. I'm a team player. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, what the professionals say is make it something to do directly with the job.
Oh.
If you actually want the job. Now, see, for me, that's phony. You do actually want to give something that's directly related to the job, but like, oh, I learn quickly. Yes, this is true. I learn lots of things quickly. So I'm a nice guy. I get along well with others. Okay, but how does that relate to whatever you're doing? Right? Well, for me, if I'm supervising an assembly line, well, learning quickly, you learn how to make the parts, and learn how to work the assembly line, and working well with others, is you have to interact and manage people. So, those can work. But I always just say be honest. And if you can relate something to the direct job that you're applying for. Because if your greatest asset in life is that you can, drink Russians under the table, you probably don't want to say that. My greatest strength is I can drink anybody under the table. No one cares. I can bench press 400 pounds. Well, unless you need to be lifting 400 pounds on a regular basis, no one cares. But I always found the greatest weakness case to be. It's actually a dumb question. I wish they would stop asking those kind of questions because all they tell you is someone better prepared for give you a bullshit answer or not. The greatest weakness is actually a better one because at least you have to strategize your way through it. It tells you at least tell you something about how someone strategizes.
Right.
Because you're just gonna get I'm a team player. I'm attention to you get kind of the genericized versions of these things. If you can actually have a good story. See, for me, I've always found if you can tell a good story and that relates to past work experience and how it might relate to them, but if you can tell a good story, even if it's not necessarily if you don't think it looks good. I've actually told the story about how I blew up. I was technically responsible for destroying 5 pumps at a gold mine. Each pump was worth $10,000. I was technically responsible for it. I just had to sign off on everything that went out the factory floor. We followed procedures. They were still dirty. They didn't follow procedures, and so it was still dirty when they put it on, and then the dirt inside the thing chewed up the pumps. But yeah. But then you learn it's about how, okay, so what did you guys do about it? It's like, well, we kind of figured out, okay, so how did this happen? It was a hot, muggy day, and we reinvented a little tool so we can make sure it was cleaned out precisely for the next time, and we trained a new technique, like for the wider hoses for cleaning them out. Came up with a new technique.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of ways to answer the question, but so if you can have a story to tell with it, it's actually even better. So, all right. My neighbor is acting very suspicious. Ooh. And I once saw him bring in multiple guns into the house. Should I contact the police, or it's none of your business? Contact the police about what?
Not doing nothing.
My neighbor has his blinds down all the time. Yeah, because your nosy ass keeps trying to look in his house. What the hell is wrong with you? Unless there's actually something to deal with, there's nothing to deal with. Stop looking for problems. God.
Well, see, people are afraid of the next Ted Bundy,
Yeah, I know, but people hunt, people go shooting as recreation all the time. It's not a thing that doesn't happen. Well, unless maybe you're in the UK or something. But if you're in the United States, there's shooting ranges and hunting trips, and people go hunt trees all the time. It happens. It's a routine thing.
Yeah, it's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing actually suspicious about any of that stuff. Lots of people don't open their blinds because they don't open their blinds. Just stop looking for problems, man. All right. Here's a good one. If your child refuses to eat dinner every night because they claim they don't like it, even if they've liked it before, would you send them to bed early? I don't like punishing children over food. It sets up bad precedents for the future.
Yeah.
Creates a bad relationship with food. They go to bed, they go to bed hungry, they go to bed hungry, they'll eat.
We were given the option, if you didn't like dinner, you could go make yourself a sandwich, but you had to cook it because somebody had already cooked for you, and they weren't going to cook a second time.
Yeah. Well, and it depends. We had an autistic son, and so he has very picky eating, and sometimes it would be kind of random, and you have to kind of account for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but if you're just talking a child who's going through a phase, let them go through their phase. They'll be all right. They'll want to eat. I mean, and it depends. If you say no, they need to eat their dinner, that's fine, but then say, okay, you have to be prepared to go hungry. And trust me, it only happens once.
Yeah.
They'll eat something. They may not eat a lot of their dinner, but they'll eat some of it. But you also have to remember children's tastes change, and they can change relatively quickly. So something they liked last week, they may not like it anymore. Those little
True.
taste buds, those little
True.
nerve endings, all those things are changing, evolving rapidly. So just because they liked it last week, you're going to like it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I didn't change this around. Watch this. Because now I was looking off to the screen, and now when I was no, wait, I did have it right. See? Backwards. This is reverse mirror thing. It's this reverse mirror, man. I don't know. All right. I have an employee who usually reports sick about 2 days a month, but he's a good worker. Should I fire him? You ever figure that he's maybe taking mental health days? But the question is, do you get enough production out of him for the month? If the answer is yes, then no, you shouldn't fire them. You may want to ask, Hey, I see you take a couple of days off every month. Are you taking mental health days? It's
Are
perfect.
you okay?
Yeah, is there
Yeah.
something we can do? Because that sounds like me when I was dealing with, when you're dealing with anxiety issues or bipolar issues or something. Sometimes you just need to take a couple of extra day off because you just can't do it that day. And here's the thing: if you honor that, they will run through walls for you when they can. You'll have a very loyal employee because you showed loyalty to them.
Yes.
Loyalty that they can't get everywhere. So if he's a good worker, have a conversation about it and see what it is. I'm not, just approach it with caution, approach it with some care, kindness, and compassion, and you'll have a highly loyal employee.
Yes, indeed.
Treat them like a human, and they'll treat you the same way. You show some loyalty, they'll show you loyalty back. You've already said he's a good worker, so it's not the work ethic. There's something else. If you can figure out what that is, then maybe you can find some way to work around it. Yeah. Okay. I don't get. This one made no sense to me. So, why do parents tell their kids how babies are made? Why wouldn't you? My adult daughter will be 19 in 2 months, and I never told her at all. What the hell is wrong with you? I tell her that she was adopted. What?
She isn't.
She isn't. Yeah. What? She was little. Mother, they're gonna find out anyway.
What is going on here? Is somebody ashamed to tell their children I had sex? And that's how you were made?
Maybe, but you figured it out. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna think you're batshit crazy.
This is a parental task that you have to do.
Yeah. Well, and they've learned it at school.
Trust me, they've learned it at school.
They didn't learn it in class. They learned it from their friends, and you damn well better hope they learned it in class. The hell is wrong with this woman or person? I don't know if it's a woman or not.
And there's health things that go with this you have to do. They have to know that you have to have checkups.
How the hell did you explain your period?
Did no one talk to this girl?
I'm just saying.
She's just all on her own.
No, because in 19, she's 19. This is written now, so it's the last 4 years. The last 4 years of school, there's robust. I mean, unless maybe she's homeschooled. But I somehow don't think this person wants to put that much effort into it to teach to homeschool these kids. So these kids went to school. So I'm sure they know. It's just she stuck her head in the sand. She's got her head deep down, well, probably up her ass is a more descriptive word. But she's not paying attention to the world around her. I hope these kids have a stronger head, or the other parent has had the discussions behind the back. There's 100 ways that this could not be as bad as it appears on the surface. They could have people in their lives that give them everything they needed to know. So let's be honest. They're not necessarily walking out there ignorant. Especially in today's world, it's harder and harder to be ignorant over that kind of thing. But why would you want your child to be? And how in the fuck would you tell someone that they're adopted when they weren't? Why would you do that?
That's shades of abuse.
There's nothing wrong with being adoption. Adopting someone is a blessed and wonderful thing. It's a glorious.
Yes, it's a gift from the heart.
But why would you create that dynamic that it doesn't need to be there? It's like anyway, I don't understand. That person needs to go to therapy. And then children probably do too. But definitely that person needs to go to therapy. They have issues. Probably issues with the sexuality, their own personal sexuality. Or there is another option that we actually didn't think about. She could have been pregnant by violence.
Ah.
And then that's kind of how the trauma would.
Yes.
So there is I don't. A potential of caution, a word of caution on being overly judgmental.
Yeah.
But either way, she needs to see
some counseling.
Yeah. Okay. So I got an invitation to a high school reunion where I was bullied. I'm successful in my career. I want the satisfaction that I'm doing better than my bullies, but I don't want to demean myself on that level. Should I go? Well, I never went. I didn't go to mine. Now it wasn't because of bullies or anything. It's because I figured I didn't go to high school, but half the time anyway. So I figured I'd just avoid my. I didn't really want to go. And I'm running for office at the time, right? So I could have gone and I could have strutted around like I was Mr. Big. But but yeah.
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 But whether this person should go or not.
Well, is there anybody there you'd actually want to see and talk to? If you're just going to as vanity, no. I mean, if the only reason you're going is for the self satisfaction that you're doing better than those people who bullied you, at that stage you're not much better than your bullies. You want to rise above them, right? And you know it. He's talking about the demeaning himself. He does. He knows that it demeans himself to want to go in there and want to feel that satisfaction. You're not gonna. If that's the reason you go, then don't go. If you go because there's some people in school you liked and you heard they're gonna be there, you'd like to go and spend some time with them because it'd be cool to catch up. Great. Don't make that decision because of your bullies, because then they're still bullying you all this time later. Go because there's people you want to talk to. Go because there's no one there to bother with. Don't go because there's no one there to bother with, right? That's the reason you do it.
Yeah.
Don't let it be anything other than that. Because then you're still letting those damn people control you. All this time later. Shall not go quiet into the good night. Rage! Rage against the dying of the light! Maybe I should go do my poem reading again. Anyway. This one's heartbreaking. Do you want to read that one? Can you read it from here?
I want to run away, and I'm traveling to London. What should I bring? You cannot change my mind. I'm 14. What should I do? Okay, obviously something is going on at home.
Yeah, well, lots of children run away because they fear that something's going to happen at home, not something's actually going to happen. And this is what I've seen. Okay, now I'm not discounting that something couldn't be happening, but if something's happening at your home, the answer isn't to run away. The answer is to go to your social services and seek help.
School counselor is a good place to start.
I mean, in the schools in the UK, they have social services. They have people they can call.
No, she's traveling to London.
Yeah, so they're in the UK. You can't travel. 14-year-old can't travel from the United States to London.
Yeah, you need a passport.
So this is from the.
So they're in the UK.
So they're in the UK.
Okay.
So she's in the UK, and the UK has social services and things they can call the police if you're talking about abuse in the house. You don't need to be by yourself. And even here, there's probably runaway hotlines. They have them here. If they have them here, they have them everywhere. Runaway hotline. You don't have to run away before you call a runaway hotline. They'd much have you rather call you there. I'm thinking of running away. How can you help me? Than they would trying to help you after you've run away. So you can still call the runaway hotline. If you're desperate, call the suicide hotline. I know you're not suicidal at the moment, but they would much rather help you and get you in contact with people who can help you than deal with you when you're actually suicidal. I'm just, but at 14, you are not prepared for life on the streets in a major city.
It's rough out there, folks.
And so
Predators are waiting for you.
make damn well sure you're just not upset with your parents. You're just not too strict. They're just not all these various things. You're only 4 years from your thing.
You're
right?
so close.
So, I mean, if it's genuinely abusive situation, get the hell out. That doesn't mean you run away to London. You find people to help you. There are people to help you. I know it doesn't feel that way, but there are people to help you. And and it's not. You probably have a friend who has a trustworthy parent that you can talk to. If that's where you have to go, find someone you trust, or call the social services if you need to. Something. Once you hit those streets, it's gonna be hard. It might be harder than what you're dealing with now. But I want to talk about why some people leave and some don't, and when they don't really need to. Especially when you're talking about if you're gay and you don't want to tell my parents won't understand. But oftentimes they will. You just have to give them some time. And especially now, it's more than ever, it's be well, but children still feel that they can't. We've experienced it in kind of our own lives where, they're afraid to tell you things. And say, well, why are you afraid to tell me? We've always been able to talk about anything. I don't know. Because it just feels like, that they're going to get rejected. And so they think their parents are going to kill them. They think their parents are going to reject them. Doesn't necessarily mean they will. And teenagers don't necessarily think well. They're teenagers. They assume that the parent is going to reject this part of them. Doesn't mean they will. Some do. It's true. That doesn't mean yours will. And sometimes they just need time. As much time as you needed to get to the point where you can accept it for yourself. Well, sometimes they need a little time. Some parents have dreams of, the marriages and grandchildren and all this other stuff. And you come out and you say, I'm gay, and they see all that go away. And they're not living for you in that moment. But they'll get there. You kind of deflated their dream. And it takes a minute to realize that the real dream wasn't the grandchildren and the families and the good house. It was that you were happy. And when they realize that the lifestyle you have, your sexuality makes you happy, they'll accept. But it takes time. Sometimes. But sadly, there are parents, there are people out there who can't wrap their head around it and want to run away. So I don't know. Find some help. Don't do it. Don't run away by yourself. There are places to help. It's easier to look for the help now than it is once you hit the streets. Just saying. For any of you out there who's been in that situation, who knows somebody in that situation, we love you. We care about you. Be careful. Okay. Do we have something? This next one is.
It's a little funny.
Yes, it is. All right. So, 19-year-old, my dad is making me buy all my own food, toilet paper, toothpaste, and shower stuff. It's stupid. I get everything else included
Except
except these things. What should I do? Be happy that's always freaking making your ass buy. That's what you should do.
There's not charging you rent.
Not charging you rent. That's a good deal. That's actually a pretty good deal. Look, you have a place to live, but you got to take care of your own personables. What's wrong? That's a pretty reasonable, actually, it's a highly reasonable thing. You're 19. You should be able to feed yourself. Now, I somehow doubt that if you were starving, your dad was going to let you starve. But you should be making an attempt at 19 and stuff to feed yourself. But actually, just be grateful. That's actually what I would say. He doesn't owe you anything. He loves you.
Teaching you to be self-reliant.
And he's doing it gently.
Yes, he is.
You know, be happy that you don't have a father who says it's rent and utilities or get the hell out. You know, we had a young lady who lived with us for, 8-9 months after she graduated high school. She wasn't our daughter.
Is that why?
Well, not exactly. But the point is be blessed for what you have. Because you may not, other people don't have it. You've got something good. Accept the gift. He's actually giving you a gift. And that's, I think, is what's important. Let's skip to this one. Should I let my 14-year-old son choose when he goes to bed?
I think it's up for negotiation.
Well, see, my rule was you can stay up as late as you want as long as you get up when you have to get up. It'd be hell to pay if you don't. I'd literally throw water on their asses if they wouldn't get up. So I didn't actually have that problem. They'd stay up late, playing video games or whatever, but they'd get up. Well, except for Anthony, but that had nothing to do with how late he went to bed. He just didn't get up in the mornings. It's just the way it was. He was a night owl. He's to try to get him up in the early mornings. It's dumb. So we worked around it. Yeah.
With mine, I would go to bed and I'd tell them good night. And as long as they were in their rooms and they're settling in, they'll go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, at 14, they have to learn to monitor their own sleep patterns, and they can't do it unless they have the opportunity. They have to learn to do these things on their own. You have to learn how the choices and the consequences. I was always a big natural consequence parent. And yeah, you want to stay up late, that's great. Your ass going to be tired tomorrow, but knock yourself out. But because that was always how it was never a thing. They always knew that, okay, I can stay up late if I want, but she's not going to give me no slack tomorrow because I'm tired. Yeah, you're right. Now, you may be lucky. Maybe tomorrow you didn't have anything planned. You can sleep all day. Hey, that's great. You got lucky. But if we had to get up at 7 in the morning, you went to bed at 4, that's your problem, not mine. But, they're young teenage boys. They can do it once you get them up and moving. They're fine. So that's the difference between teenagers and old people like me. Can't get me up and moving after a 3-hour sleep. Right? Yeah. All right. So we got 2 questions left, and we're almost out of time. Which one do we want to do? Do you want to do the how do you know you have met someone with whom you want to spend your whole rest of your life?
Yes.
Or the turning age 28 and feel old?
Let's go with the love one.
All right. How do you know you have met someone with whom you want to spend the rest of your life?
Oh, I felt that way many times. Well, I won't say many, several.
Yeah, but how do you know? See, how do you know for sure that it's not just Okay, but
I think you go into it with the best of intentions, and you hope for the best. But I'm 60 now, so that's a 60-year-old. Ask me when I was 20, I don't know what I was thinking.
how do you know? You don't know. That's the thing. In a sense, there's a leap of faith you have to make.
Yep.
And, that's why sometimes it goes so wrong. But on the other hand, that's why sometimes it goes so right. Because you have to make that leap of faith. It has to be made. Otherwise, you never actually get the fullness of a relationship. It's one of those things that at some point you have to jump in with both feet. You can't have a life jacket on. You just gotta jump in and hope you made the right choice. On faith. And it's a hard thing.
It's exciting. It's scary. It's thrilling.
Yeah, there's a reason that artists have been trying to express this concept of love since the beginning of human history. It's this strange, encompassing thing. It's multiple things at the same time that are different. It's scary and exciting and comforting and safe all at the same time. How can that be? It's because love is a magical thing. It can be what you need it to be. But oftentimes, it can be what you need when you don't quite know it. So that's the end of the show for tonight. We want to thank you for joining us from me and Lubby. Well, wait. I had an ending. No, I just went.
Oh no.
Right out of my head. Well, for me and Levy, we want to thank you for joining us. You can check us next week, every week at 10 p.m. Pacific on our Facebook page. You can find us at latenightLove.us and all your favorite podcast networks. You can find us at locals. You can join our locals community. We'd like that. Late Night Love. Locals, I think. That's what it is.
Okay.
.com, something like that. Anyway, you can find us on those kind of major social media networks. Or you can go to the website. I think I've got them all posted there. All right. Thank you guys for watching us. For me and Lubby, please remember to love everybody.
Good night.